Hello, Dr. James Bogash, expert in health and longevity, and today we're going to talk about one of the scariest subjects that I always talk about, and that's environmental exposure. In this particular case, PFAS, so the perfluorinated compounds, think also known as forever chemicals, so like Teflon, DuPont, stain-resistant stuff, odor-resistant, any type of scenario where we want to keep something from sticking to something. Unfortunately, a lot of times that's and flame retardants. So they all fall under that category of these perfluorinated compounds. Without going too deep into the chemistry of it, we've got some of the longer chain ones, shorter chains. They're trying to make some other ones that might not be quite as harmful. The reality is, like, these things are everywhere. Even, kids in rural Africa have levels of these perfluorinated compounds in their bloodstream. Antarctica, they're across the globe. It's very hard for the environment to get rid of them, and they absolutely have health consequences. Before we get into this particular study and how you might be able to reduce your exposure, make sure you like this video, share it with somebody who you think needs information, and subscribe to the channel. So that being said, this was a study done on 72 Canadians, and it was a study looking at using dietary fiber to lower cholesterol. So they thought, while we had all this data, let's look at PFAS levels and how they were impacted by increasing dietary fiber. So they looked at, in the study, they looked at 17 different types of these perfluorinated compounds. They were present in 100% of the samples. Now, as a personal example to intervene here, I was part of a study through U of A during the pandemic, and it was for it was the HERO study, so those people that were on the front line of exposure. And as an offshoot for that study, they looked at these compounds in the bloodstream. And I got my results a couple years later, and it was very disappointing to see that my levels were just a little bit below what would be expected across the United States. And I do my best to try to avoid these things. And even knowing that they're out there and doing my best to avoid them, wow, they're still present in my bloodstream. There's no way you can eliminate it. The best thing we can do is potentially lower those levels. So again, back to the study. So 100% of the people in the sample had these, had the perfluorinated compounds in them. The replacements that are designed to be shorter and maybe a little bit better environmentally friendly, but they're a little bit newer. Gen X, not to be confused with like my generation, 71% of the people had those levels in them. So, or had detectable levels in their bloodstream. In general, higher levels of these compounds led to increased liver enzymes, which is not good. As I mentioned, these have a lot of biological consequences. Elevated liver enzymes just happens to be one of a long list. But one of the things they found is that increasing dietary fiber had a tendency to decrease blood levels of these perfluorinated compounds. So the study was over 4 weeks, so even within a short period of time of increasing dietary fiber had an impact. They didn't necessarily look at the type of dietary fibers, or it wasn't outlined in the study, but insoluble fibers, so kind of a roughage, may have a tendency to bind some of these fibers up and prevent them from being absorbed, which would be a good thing. We're still kind of learning ways to reduce our exposure. Forget reducing our exposure. Like, you can do that, but they're everywhere. So maybe reduce our absorption, and playing around with the microbiome might be an answer. In this case, it looks like increasing your intake of dietary fiber, which we should be doing anyway, may decrease your body's absorption of these levels. So, As always, I'll post a link to this particular study in the description. Make sure you like this video, share it with somebody you think needs information, and subscribe to the channel.